Welcome to ZBTR TV.
The goal is to unearth and document the Zambian narrative in the best way possible.
Catch us live every Saturday on Facebook and YouTube.
We broadcast every Saturday at 10 a.m. EST, 7 a.m. PT.
With a growing audience across the globe, we connect Zambians and share resources abroad.
Be part of our journey. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
With a growing audience across the globe, we connect Zambians and share resources abroad.
The ZBTR TV show.
Did you know? Less than 10% of our viewers are subscribed. Don't miss out. Be part of the community. Mark your calendars. Every Saturday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Flow live.
Welcome to the show.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching us from. This is ZBTR TV. My name is Muhambi Musanda, and I have the privilege of hosting today. As you can hear in my voice, I'm a little tired, as we all are. We've been up at least since Wednesday or Thursday with monitoring the election results in Zambia. And as you've known, for the past 2 days, we've had panelists of youth leaders who have shared their insights and their thoughts on the upcoming election. And today is no different. As you know, the election was held yesterday on Thursday, and today is Friday. And we're still waiting to see the vote totals. I believe it's 5 o'clock right now in Zambia, and according to news reports, the ECZ chair is going to be giving an address, I believe right now, where they'll be discussing recent news. As you've heard, some of the vote tabulations have been suspended, and they were suspended, I believe, earlier today after concerns about election violence and other matters. We've been monitoring here on ZBTR TV. Of course, as you all know, we've had a diverse slate of panelists. We've had Simon Mwewa, who is the president of Legal Scholars Guild. We've had Joseph Piri, who is one of our youth leaders. He's president of the African Law Students Association, and he is entering the studio. And we've also had other youth leaders who've been on the ground offering their insights and offering pictures and sharing their thoughts on what's been going on in Zambia. While we wait for Joseph to enter the studio, we just want to give you sort of again, an update. As you know, there's been some parliamentary seats that have been decided. If you're paying attention to some of the big races, of course, the race in Lusaka for the Lusaka mayor, that has not been announced yet. And of course, we're waiting for the big one, which is the presidential race in Zambia. And we have Brother Joseph, who is here. He is a youth leader and president of the African Law Students Association, the chapter in Zambia. And he has been with us at least since Wednesday. My guy, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. And you?
I'm doing good. Thank you again so much for sharing your expertise and your intellect with us. We've definitely enjoyed it. I guess my first question is sort of what are you sensing? What are you feeling? Today's Friday, so we're waiting.
Yeah, so actually what I'm actually feeling is a huge political what I can just say. Okay, I would say things are just intense. I would just say things are intense right now. People are anxious about the results. Um, as you know, the Electoral Commission in Zambia, suspended the counting and the announcing of the votes for 24 hours until further notice. So we're just waiting for them to begin announcing by tomorrow. But otherwise, the political tensions are high. You would see that there's a lot of Facebook pages that are actually announcing the results of unverified results, so to say, of candidates who've actually scooped some seats in particular constituencies, especially in Lusaka and Copperbelt. I would say the opposition, they scooped a lot of seats.
Oh, seems like we're having, I think, network trouble. We had some yesterday. I think people are very excited. As you said, the opposition in Zambia scooped some seats in. I think we have Brother Joseph back.
Apologies.
Yep, we can hear you. You were saying I understand. Yeah, it's been bad since yesterday, but we appreciate you. You were saying that the opposition scooped some seats.
Yeah, the opposition scooped some seats. I would say here in Lusaka, they scooped a good number. I can say in particular Matero, Lima, there is Chilangano as well. And those are the only constituencies that have received. The others they haven't yet announced, but there's a potential, setback that the opposition might have a lot of seats in Lusaka. In the Copper Belt, Kitwe, they've announced Chingola. In Changa, they've announced. In Changa, there's this musician, a well-known musician by the name of Matitu, who is also known as the Muzala Kaira. He stood as an independent, but unfortunately, he conceded defeat because they've announced the result that he couldn't make it for the parliamentary seat. Yes, the opposition, the NRPUP, scoped that seat in Changa. So currently, we will just
this network is something I was gonna ask Joseph. He wrote a excellent write-up. There he is. You're back. I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm not sure if you can hear me well. Can you hear me? While he's adjusting his network, Joseph he had a write-up that he wrote 4 hours ago on his social media page, his Facebook page. Again, this is a university student, and he's president of the African Law Students Association. They have a chapter there in Zambia. He wrote a write-up entitled Zambia's Next Great Opposition. And he said, and I quote, "Today, as we watch the political developments surrounding President Hakainde Hichilema and the emerging opposition leadership around BM8, he's back, around BM8, Zambia may once again be entering an important chapter in opposition politics." Let's see if we can get him back. My guy, can you hear us?
The network, yeah, I can hear you. The network is terrible.
No problem.
Very terrible.
I read your write-up that you published 4 hours ago when you were talking about this election, and you said that it was entitled Zambia's Next Great Opposition, and you said that by being in opposition is not simply about saying no. The greatest opposition is one that holds government accountable, challenges policies, provides alternative solutions, represents the interests of citizens, develops competent leaders, and prepares a credible government. And you wrote at the end, who can convince Zambians that they are ready to govern? The 2026-2031 chapter could be the ones for history books. What do you think? I'm just curious, like what prompted you to write that? Because I saw it early this morning. I was like, this is pretty good.
All right, so what made me to write that is because I feel like history is going to repeat itself. I did mention some of my colleagues. I told them that there's a huge chance that
You're back.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if the network is bad.
No, we can hear you now. Can you hear us? We can hear you. Well, while he's waiting to come back, he said that if the current opposition can rise above political divisions, build strong institutions, articulate clear policies, and genuinely listen to the Zambian people, we could be witnessing one of the strongest and most consequential opposition movements in Zambia's history. Again, he writes at the end of his composition, the question is no longer simply who can oppose government. The bigger question is who can convince Zambians that they are ready to govern. And I think that's going to be the defining question once this election has concluded. There will be a winner and there will be a loser. The loser goes into the opposition. And so the question is, as Joseph writes, the greatest opposition is one that holds government accountable, challenges policies with facts, provides alternate solutions, represents the interests of citizens, and develops competent leaders and prepares a credible government in waiting. I was just reading through your write-up again. What do you want to see? I guess, once this election's over, there'll be a winner, there'll be a loser. What would you like to see in a credible opposition government, whoever it might be?
All right, so what I wanted to mention something earlier that I did mention to some of my colleagues that there's a huge chance that President Hakainde Hichilema might win, but he will experience a huge opposition in parliament. Mm-hmm. So in a democracy, it's very healthy to have opposition, not only opposition who will just say no to everything, right? But they'll just come to the government and say, oh, guys, I feel like what you're doing is actually wrong. I feel like what you did that and the policies that you're bringing into this country may affect the citizens and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to see is a very competitive government, right? A very competitive government, a government that will work hand in hand with the opposition, not a government that will attack the opposition, right? And this would actually force the UPND government to work hand in hand with the opposition because they have no choice. The majority will be the opposition in parliament. And I can assure you that a very good number of the opposition MPs will be in parliament. And we're already seeing that right now. A very good number will be in the opposition. Also, a very good number of oppositions will be in parliament.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's something that we've also been seeing, that it seems like Parliament, UPND members of Parliament have been losing seats. I mean, well, what do you think that says about, I think we talked about it yesterday, but what do you think that says about how the people on the ground are viewing the government? The fact that, obviously it's too early to tell what the presidential race will look like, but members of Parliament have lost seats. What do you think that says about the state of the nation concerning, or how the citizens view the UPND government?
Okay, so I would say there are two sides of how, there are two sides of how citizens view the UPND government. Firstly, the first side, the citizens are actually viewing the UPND as, a very bad government. Like, they're just like reminding them of how the PF government used to rule. The UPND cadres are terrorizing the communities. We see UPND officials, um, you know, how can I explain? They are they they're just full of pride and all that stuff. What I can just say on that part, right?
Mm.
And they don't know how to talk. They would attack people, especially those in the opposition. They don't know how to reason with the citizens. And you know, the most common thing that a lot of ordinary Zambians would view the UPND, they will view the UPND as liars, so to say. But on the other side, the other side of the citizens, they will view the UPND as, as their saviors, right? Being that we are now, we are now back on track. The economy is doing very well. The indicators are showing that the economy is doing well and all that stuff. I mean, a lot of citizens, especially those who just call them as lenient citizens, they'll be like, I know this government is actually good. Let's give them time for them to like fix things, and we're sure that things will actually, go well. So, um, this is the thing that I'm trying to figure out. But according to my own research, a lot of citizens would rather vote for President Hakainde Hichilema than his UPND aspiring MPs, councillors, council chairpersons, or mayors. Reason being, it is because President Hakainde Hichilema, in the national level, he did very, very well, right? His policies for education, the feeding program, the FIPS program, the agriculture program, we're talking about the debt restructuring and everything, he did very well. But back to local development, the CDF, which is known as the Constituency Development Fund, how are they distributed in each constituency? Let's take it for instance, in my constituency, we don't see any reasonable development with the CDF that, this UPND have distributed in each constituency, right? This year, we received about 40 million kwacha for each constituency. 40 million kwacha, that's a lot. You can build a lot of things, right? We could have seen hospitals being built, not only hospitals, maybe clinics, schools, proper roads, proper drainages. We could have seen improved infrastructure, just to make sure that, this constituency, or just to, make the constituency nice, let me not say nice, but to just bring development into the constituency, right? A lot of empowerment initiatives. But when you go to a constituency office right now, they'll be like, no, what tribe are you? What party are you supporting? Right? Those are the questions that they'll ask you, right? So it is a disappointment that UPND, the same UPND aspirants, right? Especially those who are participating for MP, council chairpersons, mayors, councillors, would actually appoint certain officials in those constituency offices to start asking people on the tribe to start asking you what tribe you are, the party you're supporting. I do remember and I do recall one time I went to one constituency office. They asked me on my tribe and the party that I support. But that time, um, I never, okay, I was supporting the UPND, right? I was supporting the UPND. Um, I was supporting the UPND, but I just lost hope on them time. So they did ask me about the tribe, what tribe I am, the party that I'm supporting. I told them, no, I don't have any party, and I'm Tumbuka, right? I'm from the Eastern Province, right? And immediately when they just heard that, oh, this person is from Eastern Province and the person is not supporting any party, they were like, oh, okay, we'll call you when the process is done. Up to now, it has been 3 years. I haven't received my CDA for I haven't received a PPF fund. I haven't received anything. Why? Because of the tribe that I'm coming from, and because I wasn't affiliated to any political party, right?
Okay.
So people now would be forced to vote for the opposition because of that, right?
Okay.
They won't vote for Brian Mundubile, not just because not just because you know he didn't campaign well and all of that stuff. He did okay. Let me just say, Brian Mundubile, he deserves some respect at the moment because um, I never seen a politician within 2 months who would organize the and hold rallies and convince a lot of voters not to actually vote for him, but also to actually vote for the MPs. And right now, people are doing that right now. They're voting out the UPND MPs, the councillors, the council chairpersons, the mayors. They're voting them out right now. Why? Because people right now, they want not only change in the economy, but they want change on how they can access those CBA funds, right? So, yeah, that's my analysis in this entire
Sure.
situation.
Yeah, I'll ask you this question. I think if someone, and you said yesterday that you supported him, so this is not new. Just for the audience to know. Um, he declared victory, or at least it looks like he's attempting to declare victory when the vote tabulations have not been settled. We haven't heard, of course, from ECZ. It reminds me sort of what Donald Trump did 4 years ago when he prematurely declared victory against Joe Biden. He went out, I think, the evening after the election and said, I won. Of course, we know that the votes are still being counted. So do you think that Mr. Mundubile doing a post, saying that, well, it looks like we're going to win the election, do you think that sort of muddies this already tense atmosphere? And my concern is, and I think a lot of observers, our concern might be, or the concern of observers might be, if you declare victory prematurely and you end up losing, that makes it hard for the citizens to accept the results of the election if it is not in their favor. So my simple question is, do you think that it was a mistake to do so? To declare, it looks like, again, from what he posted on his social media page, and I wish I would have showed it here, it seems like he has at least declared victory a little prematurely. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so first, I would like to state one thing. From my own analysis on how these elections are, I feel like these elections are giving Donald Trump and Joe Biden election vibes, sort of a thing, right? Because here's the thing: in the United States, Joe Biden came into power when things in America were too expensive. Things in America were bad. The economy was bad.
Yes.
Joe Biden fixed the economy, right? He fixed the inflation. He fixed the currency. He fixed everything, right?
Yes.
But the prices of services, goods, and other commodities in the United States were not, being fixed, right? These were just getting expensive and more expensive and more expensive, right? So that's how Donald Trump used that to his advantage for him to bounce back to power, right? He would come like, oh, I would actually reduce the prices, just vote for me and everything, right? And guess what? Donald Trump won. Even though Donald Trump prematurely announced that he's actually the winner of that election 4 years ago, actually it was even obvious. People would see that, this guy is going to win, right? So what I would say is that BMA, or let me just say Brian Mondovide, is Donald Trump, and their church is Joe Biden. That's the situation that we're facing here. That's the situation that we're facing here right now. I would say that Brian Mundube was too early to start announcing that he's declared winner and all that stuff. But I mean, he's confident that he's going to win. So who am I to judge that, right?
Sure. Well,
If
as you know, in politics, being confident can sometimes, you'll be on the losing end.
yeah,
People said that
yeah, that's
PF
true.
was
That's true.
confident 5 years ago, and look what happened to them. So,
Yeah, so I would say that that's too early for him to start saying that. Oh, he's actually because I mean, um, even though these elections are giving Donald Trump and Joe Biden vibes, this is Zambia. Anything can happen, right? You may be confident, but in the end, the one who might win is President Hakainde Hichilema, right? Because it is too early to start, just you prematurely announce that, oh, I have actually won. This is my victory. Mind you, they haven't reached to the millions of voters. They haven't reached to the millions, right? They're just still on the thousands, right? They're still counting. Fair to say, they're still counting. The numbers are still there. So I would just actually urge the audience to actually wait, be patient, right? Be patient. Um, Let us see who's going to be the winner. If it's going to be Brian Mundubile or it's going to be President Hakainde Hichilema. But
I
otherwise, the statement that President Brian Mundubile, uh, you know, stated in Facebook, or let me just say in his social media pages, it is too early to predict that he's actually the winner. So let's just wait first, right? Let's just wait. I believe by Sunday or Monday, we'll actually see who is the winner, right? Yeah. So
yeah,
it is too early.
I agree. I was going to ask this question. I've been curious. Zambian people, I think it was Joe Green that said it on Wednesday when we were all together. We were talking about, change. And he said, how many times are you going to vote for change? Right? Zambian people wanted change 5 years ago. That's why after 10 years of PF leadership, you voted for UPND and HH. 5 years later, it seems at least at the parliamentary level, people are voting for change. But I think it's very curious. The same people that the same people that called or the voters that the same voters that effectively called PF thieves, Bakawalala, we don't want them in office. Those same voters, at least 5 years later, are voting for the same people again. Obviously it's not the same party, but it's a lot of the people that were in PF are currently in this new iteration. What do you think it says about voters? At least someone is you observe politics. I don't really. Voters are very fickle, and so they change a lot. Even change. So you can't really I don't say you can't really trust them, but voters are inherently, fickle. What do you think that says about, I don't know, the current state of Zambia? Some voters who voted against, UPND are now voting for, the same PF ticket that, they voted against 5 years ago.
Okay, so what I can just say is a lot of Zambians are frustrated. That's one thing that you just need to understand. A lot of Zambians are frustrated. I'll still go back to the issue of cost of living. Okay, what I can say is that let's take it for instance, if President Akande Hichilema managed to reduce the prices of services and commodities, do you think that this political tension that we're experiencing right now would happen? That's a no, isn't it? Right? That wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah.
But President Hakainde Hichilema has got a plan. He already has a roadmap on his head saying that, oh, we're going to first focus in stage one, then we'll go to stage two, and then we'll go to stage three, because when it comes to recovering the economy, there's actually stages. There is the recovery stage, right? There is also um, you know there's the recovery stage. After the recovery stage, there's now the build up, and then there's now the stage where we begin to feel the prosperity, right? We begin to feel the prosperity, right? So that's the thing, and because of that, a lot of Zambians, especially those who I wouldn't say they have little knowledge about that, are frustrated, right? They are very, very much frustrated. And being that they are bringing back people who were part of the PF, I wouldn't say not everyone were part of the PF, right? Because if you check the candidates who are standing on the on opposition side, the NRPUP, a good number of them were never part of the PF, unless those on the top side, like Pramundu, he was part of the PF. Makebi Zulu was part of the PF, right? All of those guys were part of the PF, right? But there are very good. There's a very good number of these aspirants who are never part of the MPs, a very good number of them. So I would just say a lot of Zambians are just frustrated. The change that they want, they bring in a new leader, and this leader doesn't provide the expectations. They'll get disappointed, right? It's just the same like you're expecting your dad to bring milk, and then you told your dad that, oh, dad, we want you to bring milk when you get home, right? And then you just suddenly just be surprised that instead of him bringing milk, he just brings a container of water, saying that, oh, guys, there is no money and all that stuff, so I've just bring a container of water, right? And that's what a lot of Zambians are experiencing. They're frustrated, they're kind of disappointed, yeah, that's the thing. So that's why a lot of Zambians are changing government, right? In the recent years, we've seen a series of changes. We've seen in Kenneth Kaunda's time, they changed. They went to Frederick. They went to um, Michael Sata, and then now they went to President Hakainde Hichilema, right? The MMD, PF, and now the UPND. So yeah, that's the kind of change we're experiencing. And I would say it is healthy to change the government because it's part of democracy. Right? Yeah, it is part of democracy. But the question that we need to ask ourselves is that this kind of change that we're bringing in, is it going to benefit not only us as a democracy, but is it going to benefit the economy, right? Is it going to benefit the vision that Zambia has? Mind you, we've got Vision 2030, and each president who comes in into power will bring in their own plans, right? They will bring in their own plans, right? But the question that we need to ask ourselves is that, oh, are these manifestos that they're bringing in, is it aligned to Vision 2030? Levy Moyamwas started Vision 2030, right? And Pierre Banda continued the legacy. Michael Sata, I believe he continued the legacy because he wanted to ensure that there's massive infrastructure in Zambia, and he achieved that. Edgar Chabanungu never had the vision, but he continued the legacy for Michael Sata. Why? Because they followed the Vision 2030. So I believe even President Hakainde Hichilema is following the Vision 2030. Why? Because he wants to bring Zambia back on track, right? So I think we'll see how it will turn out. I cannot predict that the Zambians will actually vote out President Hakainde Hichilema, but sure to the audience that President Hakainde Hichilema might be re-elected into power. And I believe that will be a bit beneficial because, we need to get back on track, right? We need to get back on track. But it's going to be healthy again for Zambia to experience a lot of opposition because the opposition will be correcting the president. Yeah, they will be correcting the president.
Opposition is healthy in a democracy, as you wrote. Someone said that we will never move forward as a country because of those unnecessary changes occurs. This country was broken in the last 10 years. I think it's also important to note, we have Simon who's coming in. I think it's also important to note that at least in my observation of politics, and I guess, I'm only 22, so I'm still young. It typically, if a government is in power for 10 years, and if an opposition government succeeds them, generally it would take a long time to sort of reverse those policies that you did not agree with, because those are 10 years worth of policies that have been baked into the country. And so it's going to take a while. If you are if you're a frustrated Zambian who may have voted for UPND 5 years ago, people don't like it. Politicians don't say it, but since we're not politicians yet, we can say it. It takes time for implementation to implement. It just doesn't happen by osmosis. And as you said, Joseph, an opposition party is very good. So I'm curious, actually, if the president does win and there is an opposition, if he does, because it looks like, again, he's not going to have the majority in parliament. Do you think that will make it harder for him to get some of his, policies passed?
Yeah, it will be very, very difficult for him to actually, bring in new policies and laws. Being that if you look back in history, Levi Mwawasa was also experiencing the same thing, right?
Yes.
Levi Mwawasa experienced a huge opposition. So it was very difficult for him to pass in some certain laws, right? So I would actually, how I wish that President Akaide Ichilema would actually also watch this live and just give him advice on how he can actually easily pass some certain policies and laws. Because if you look at how Levy Mwasa actually, he was able to pass some certain laws and policies, how he worked together with the opposition. That's the thing. It would be unfair and it won't do justice when President Akainde Ichilema won't work with the opposition. That's the thing. Because Levi Mwawasa had to set aside politics and decided to work with the opposition. He was like, you know what? Let me just work with the opposition, right? We are here to build the country, right? We're here to build the economy. We're here to better the lives of many Zambians, right? And if we're going to achieve that, I need to work together with the opposition. And that's what Levi Mwawasa did. May he so rest in peace. He's a great man, right?
A great man.
That's what he did. And he achieved that, right? He managed to, because that time, during the time for Levi Mwawasa, things were, the inflation was high, the currency was, wasn't stable, there was a lot of debt and everything. And, since he decided to work with the opposition, it was very easy for him to actually pass on some certain policies to ensure that the economy is well. If you ask a lot of ordinary Zambians, especially those who were part of Levi Mwanawasa's era, things were very, very affordable, right? I remember during the time for Levi Mwawasa, it was very cheap. Things were very cheap. We were able to buy mini meal for less than 50 kwacha, right? Fuel, I believe it was I believe it was less than 3 kwacha by that time. Transportation, it was very affordable, right? I even remember when I was a kid, I was able to buy sweets for 5 ingwe.
I was gonna say, even how do you remember these things?
5 ingwe. These were very affordable, right? These were very affordable. Why? Because there was one secret ingredient that Levi Mwawasa did. He worked with the opposition, right? And because of that, the opposition loved him, right? They were like, we've never seen a president who would actually humble himself and just come to the opposition and say, you know what, guys, let's work together. This is politics, let's set it aside, right? So the President Akainde Ichilema would use the same tactic that President Levi Mwawasa used. It will be very easy for him to implement some certain policies, and I believe things will be better, right? Things will be better. And like, if he won't be able to do that, we might become the next South Korea. Because in South Korea, the recent president also faced a lot of opposition, right?
Hmm.
And the issue that he never got along with the opposition. He was too bitter at the opposition. So what the opposition did, the opposition MPs, what they did is that they all gathered up together to impeach the recent president of South Korea. And
Hmm.
I mean, that can happen. That can happen in Zambia. They can simply impeach the president because the majority are the opposition, right?
Yes.
The majority are the opposition, and it's already written in law. If the third of the majority of the members of parliament vote against the president, the then president will be impeached. That's all. He loses power. Simple, straightforward. So he needs to be careful in that particular position. But otherwise, we'll see how things will go.
You are a very sober-minded analyst of politics, and so we look forward to voting for you in, God willing, 2031 or the next election. Since we know it, we know it's coming, so we look forward to that, and hopefully, you'll still keep that level of um, of just of of intelligence in politics. I think I like how you just you explain it in a way that makes sense. And I think most importantly, even though you are a partisan, we are all partisans, but you have explained it in a way that is very neutral. So I appreciate that because I think that's important. Um, I'm a partisan. We're all partisans, at least in our personal capacity. But it's important for us when we are sort of analyzing politics to do it from a place of neutrality. So I just appreciate that about you because I think that's very, very important. Um, my next question is: there's been, as you know, there's the reason why can you just talk about sort of the suspension of the counting votes? I stayed up late last night, and so I slept late, and then I wake up and I hear that the votes have been suspended. I'm like, oh my gosh. So can you talk about that just for a little bit?
Okay. Well, so what is happening right now is that there are some parts in Zambia, some certain constituencies, they're experiencing some unease violence, and ballot papers are being stolen. Right, like
Mm.
here in Lusaka, Chawama, there's some violence that erupted, and there were some ballot papers that were stolen by some UPND cadres. Right.
Oh,
If you go in some parts of Southern Province, Northwestern Province, they're experiencing the same, right? So that's what's happening. But to my surprise, it's not a lot, not all constituencies. I'll just say very few constituencies are experiencing that, being that Chawama is the only constituency in Lusaka that is experiencing that. Because I believe by UPND, they do not want to lose the Chawama seat again, because I do remember Chawama is a very it is a very powerful stronghold for the
yep.
opposition. So like they do not want um, the opposition to get that seat again, right? So that's what's going on, and uh, because a lot of results have been released. You will hear no BM8 is leading Northern Province, BM8 is leading Copper Belt, leading what and what and what. A lot of UPND members and cadres in general are at ease. It's giving them that anxiety. So because of that anxiety, they are forced to do those things, right? They're forced to do those things. They will go to police stations, cause unnecessary violence or stage a violence, and then they'll steal the ballot papers, right? Where they're taking them, we don't know where they're taking them. We don't know if they're going to burn them. We don't know if they're going to whatsoever. That's why the Electoral Commission of Zambia has suspended the counting and voting of of the votes. But the real question is that why have these suspended the counting and the voting nationwide instead of suspending on those affected constituencies, right? Because those affected constituencies are the ones who are supposed to, be suspended from the counting and voting and all of that stuff. Why are you, including the entire country, right? So it has raised a lot of, anxiety, not
Yeah.
only to the UPND, but also to those who are in opposition. They are kind of, worried, right? Some of them are saying that, no, this is a form of imingalato. This is a
Mhm.
form of imingalato. This is actually the plan of the government. But it is alleged. We don't know if it's actually true or not. So we'll see how it will go further in there. But otherwise, I just urge the audience to be patient. I believe they'll start announcing the results by tomorrow. Yeah.
Mr. Moore was here. Let me see if I can, if he's muted now. Don't know if you can unmute your mic. I don't know if you can hear us, Simon. I'm not sure if you're able to hear us. If you can't hear us, that's okay. So I just want to let everybody know the president had a post that he deleted. It says that, I'm going to read it. It says from the president, he put this out earlier in the day and then he deleted it. In our years of opposition, at no point did we encourage other people's children to go into the streets over any or all of our opposition life. At no point did we ever allow our children, at no point did we ever encourage other people's children to go into the streets over any grievance we had with the electoral process. We hope that our colleagues in opposition can learn from that by not sending other people's children in the streets with the electoral process. We hope our colleagues in opposition can learn from that by not sending other people's children into the streets. He deleted that, I think, like an hour ago, just for the audience to know. Simon, can you hear us? Mr. Muewa, how are you? Hello? You able to hear us, brother? I'm not sure if he's able to hear us. Mr. Muewa, how are you? Are you able to hear us? Oh, he just went out again. So yeah, the president had put that post on his social media page. I guess, talking about I guess they're alleging that people in the opposition have been sending their kids out in the streets to protest. I'm not sure, but that was on his page, and it was deleted about an hour ago. So I guess we've been enjoying this wonderful conversation with Brother Joseph, who has just very eloquently articulated the election, what's been going on, the issues that have been animating the election. I think we have Brother Simon back. I'm not sure if he's able to hear us. But I guess, Joseph, I'll ask you this question. Have you seen, or do you think there are any surprises that we've seen in this election? Or do you think we're due for any more surprises? Of course, you said that, you never know in politics. So do you think that we're due for any more surprises before Monday?
All right. I think we're yet to experience more surprises in the coming days. I'm expecting, more results to be, announced by some polling agents, especially in Lusaka and Copperbelt, particularly also Southern Province. I'm very much interested in the Southern Province part. So I believe there are more surprises to come. And these surprises will be shocking because, I believe Zambia will experience one of the fascinating um, fascinating times of where we're going to have a lot of opposition in parliament. And, one of the most surprising parts, I would actually acknowledge, and I would just, emphasize to the audience that we should actually just give huge respect to President Brian Mundubile. I mean, a lot of people would undermine a lot of people undermined the opposition, including the UPND. They thought that, oh, these people won't actually make it. In fact, they said that, oh, the, the opposition will be the first to get zeros. But to our surprise, um, to our surprise, uh, the opposition did very well. They did extremely very well. And that's one constituency. I remember there's this constituency called Dudumwezi. They didn't do well there. It looked like a very good majority of them there voted for HH, but Bramund, they didn't do well there. But moreover, the opposition did very well. I have huge respect for my senior counsel, President Raymond Dubile. His campaign strategy and everything was perfect, right? Though the manifesto was people-centered and other people assuming that it wasn't effective, we've seen now how effective his manifesto is and how effective his message is. Yeah.
So the president of UNZA, the student president, just posted on his Facebook, Great East Road, are you ready for us? Zambia police permission to use both lanes. I guess he's trying to, I don't know if he's going to get people to protest with him. I don't know if he wants to get students to protest with him. But from the looks of it, people aren't too excited about this prospect. As we wind down, I just sort of offer any sort of final thoughts that you have. I know you've been very consistent in telling the audience that, it's important that we be level-headed and that we remain patient as the results are drawn out. But any sort of final words that you have for today? Of course, we'll have you back on tomorrow, hopefully with everybody. But any final words that you would like to render to our audience today?
Okay, so my final words to the audience, I'll still go back to being patient, right? Let's not participate in this stage violence that we're seeing, right? Because it will just make things a little bit more complicated, right? Let us just observe and see how the law will do its course, right? And also, I would encourage both uh, the UPND supporters and the NRP UP supporters to actually respect each other, right? A lot of UPND supporters will actually come to some comments of the opposition saying that you guys are down, you're voting for President Brian to be there, why are you like this and all that stuff. This is a democracy. That's one thing that you need to understand.
Yes.
You cannot diminish someone's intelligence because they voted for their preference of the candidate of their choice, right?
Yeah.
You have no right over that, and you have no right to say that, right? You are actually violating their right to opinion. Why? Because that's their opinion. If their opinion is Brian Mondovile, or if their option is Brian Mondovile, it's Brian Mondovile. If your option is President Akainde Ichilema, it's President Akainde Ichilema. So let's not diminish ourselves because of our intelligence. You're just calling people down anyhow. I don't think that is right. Being also for the fact that we're a Christian nation, right? Whoever wins, either Brian Munduide or President Akainde Ichilema, we need to accept them as our presidents. That's one thing that you need to understand, right? So let us respect ourselves, respect our colleagues' decision. They have a lot of reasons why they voted for Brian Mundubile. Some of you guys, you voted for them out of hype. Let's not repeat that again. Let's not repeat that again. Make sure you know your candidate, know their manifesto, and they get to know. Yeah, so that's what I would actually say.
Well, you've heard it straight from the Honorable's mouth. That was Honorable Joseph Stone Perry, who has been with us for nearly the past hour. We're very grateful for you, brother, and grateful that your network was good today. So we're blessed to have you share your insights. Of course, we'll see you again tomorrow. He'll be back tomorrow, same time, hopefully with the other folks. So we also want to inform the audience that one of our panelists who was supposed to be here, she's actually at the ECZ Center. So God willing, tomorrow during our broadcast, we'll get a live report from there as we sort of continue to discern the election results. Brother Joseph, thank you so much for being here again. We really appreciate you. Thank you for your insights. And thank you again, as he said, folks, to stay calm, be patient. That's what we do in a democracy. We're witnessing a great civic exercise, and it's important for us as citizens not to get too excited. Let's remain calm. Let's ensure that where we're getting our information, as he said, is from accurate sources, and regardless of what way it goes, we are one Zambia, one nation. There will be a president, there will be an opposition, but let us be unified. Zambia has often been recognized as one of the most stable democratic countries on the continent of Africa, and that's for a reason. And so let's ensure that we are patient and that we are persistent and that we are prayerful. There will be a president, there will be an opposition, but again, let's remember that we're one Zambia, one nation. Brother Joseph, thank you so much again. We'll see you at the same time tomorrow.